So
Action.
anything that involves land, as we said on the previous slide, anything that involves land directly is a real estate deal. It doesn't matter what we're doing with the land. And if it doesn't involve land, it is simply not under the control or jurisdiction of the North Carolina Real Estate Commission. So always go back to that question first and foremost. When you're trying to decide, is this a real estate related thing? Well, does it involve land? Ultimately, what is it that we're trying to sell? What is it we're trying to lease? Are we leasing the land? Are we selling the land? Or are we selling something that happens to be there? If I want to bring somebody in my house and show them a sofa that's for sale, is that a real estate deal?
No.
No, because the sofa is not attached to what?
The land.
The land.
The land. We're not doing anything with the land. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Now, my example with the gas station. We're not selling the gas pumps. We're not selling the physical building. We're not selling the parking lot. We're not leasing any of those things. Literally, all that's being sold is the operation of the business, the name, essentially, the stock that's on the shelves. Is that a real estate deal?
No.
No, because it doesn't involve land. Does everybody see the differentiation there?
Yes.
Okay. And so that's really important to kind of get your mind in the right mindset. Now, the North Carolina Real Estate Commission says once it involves land, you might be under our jurisdiction. Notice I didn't say you definitely are under their jurisdiction. Not all land deals will require a real estate license, which sounds weird when you say it that way, doesn't it? Because we just said real estate is what?
Land.
Anything that deals with land.
Land. And I'm already recording, Shannon. I'm recording it for everybody. Real estate is everything that deals with land. But not all real estate deals will require licensure in and of themselves. Look what it says right here. It says a real estate license allows a person or a company to help who?
Others.
Others with their real estate deals. So, do you need a real estate license for every real estate transaction?
No.
No.
Good job.
You can represent who?
Yourself.
Yourself. Without license. And here's the thing, folks, you've all already done that. How many of you have leased an apartment before, or leased a house, somewhere to live? The vast majority of you didn't have representation when you did that, right?
No.
Now, you might have dealt with a property manager who represented the landlord, but for you, somebody looking out for you, somebody helping you, somebody was on your team, you didn't have anybody. You were looking out for yourself. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Was that a real estate deal? And the question is, I'm not asking if you need licensure. That's going to be the next question. But was that a real estate deal? Were you leasing land?
Yes.
Yes. It's a real estate deal. But were you required to have a license?
No.
No, because you were doing it for who?
Yourself.
Yourself.
For yourself. So professional licensure, folks, is not about just doing a thing. It's about doing a thing for somebody other than yourself. And this is not just real estate, by the way. All professional licensure in the state of North Carolina works this way. Do I need a cosmetologist license to cut my own hair?
No.
No. I need a cosmetologist license if I want to cut somebody else's hair. See the difference? Right? And here's the thing, it even goes deeper than that. I don't even need a cosmetologist license to cut somebody else's hair if I do it for what?
Free.
For free. Same thing with real estate. Can you, who don't have a real estate license, help others? Can you help others with a real estate transaction right now with no license, as long as you don't get paid for it?
Yes.
It's not a business
you
transaction.
can. Because licensure is not required until you're doing something associated with a piece of land. You're doing it for who?
Others.
Somebody other than yourself.
You get paid for it.
And what's the last piece we got to tie in there?
And you get paid for it.
And you're being paid for it. Folks, you all just learned the most important rule in license law, whether you know it or not, right there.
That is so important. And we're going to probably talk about this for the next,
hour.
Well,
Two.
we're gonna talk about this throughout the class. You know,
Yes.
just the importance.
And Jeremy, I think you make a very good point about that, especially from the fee being exchanged, but I would absolutely keep it very simple with this. Just your 3 basic rules: real estate for others, for compensation.
That's right.
If you
So-
want to say business transaction, that's fine.
Does it involve land in some way? Am I helping someone other than myself? And am I being paid? If all 3 of those are yes, you need a what?
License.
You need a license. And the license you need depends on where the land is located. If that land is located in Nevada, you need what?
A Nevada license.
Nevada
You need a
license.
Nevada real estate license. If that land is located in Raleigh, you need a North Carolina real estate license. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
But every single one of you right now can go out and represent your best friend as their buyer's agent tomorrow.
Yeah.
Be honest. How many of you knew that before you came in here today? How many of you knew that you could go out and represent somebody in a real estate transaction tomorrow without a real estate license?
I did.
That's
Oh,
great.
dang.
A lot of people don't, right? It's shocking.
Right.
As long as you don't get what?
Paid for it.
As long as you don't get paid for it. Let me throw it out there another way for you. I'm just throwing it out there another way. Can you get paid for a real estate transaction without a license in North Carolina? Can you, as an example, is there any way that you can represent somebody buying a house in Cary and be paid a $20,000 commission without a real estate license in North Carolina?
No.
Yes.
You do it for yourself.
You're
Yes,
answering
that's
from
for
your
yourself.
gut, and that's indigestion. You're not.
Okay,
following the
let's
rules.
take a real quick,
Yes, you
hold
can,
on,
but it's not legal.
hold
You're
on.
doing it for yourself.
Hold on.
Mhm.
He said, can you do it for others? So we're not talking about for ourselves.
Oh, no, I didn't specify. I said, can you
Oh,
represent
I'm so sorry.
someone buying a home in Cary? So go through the 3 rules. Number 1, is it land related? Clearly.
Yes.
Right? Number 2, am I doing it for others? I didn't specify. I said, can I represent anyone? Is there somebody I can represent without licensure?
Yes.
Yes, yourself.
Yourself.
Myself. So we'll give you the question
right.
again. Can I represent anyone? Is there any human being on this planet that I can represent buying a house in Cary without having a real estate license and still be paid a $20,000 commission?
Yourself.
Yes.
Who's?
Yourself.
Myself.
Myself. How
Craig
many of you
just
knew
did it.
that?
I did.
Craig,
Yeah.
we don't tell on people when they speed.
And so it is important to understand that it's all 3 that requires licensure. Is it related to land? Is it a service that's being performed for somebody other than the person in question? And are they being paid? If all 3 are yes, you need licensure. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
If any of the 3 are no, you don't need licensure. Janet, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, so if you're representing yourself, I thought you could represent yourself, but I didn't think you would get a commission. But you do?
I didn't.
Absolutely.
See, you asked
Oh,
an
okay,
entirely
never
different
mind.
question than I paid. You asked, would you get a commission? The real estate commission does not give a shit whether you get paid or not. What
Right.
they do is set up the rules of whether you can legally get paid.
Got it.
Whether somebody does pay you or not, that is between you and them to negotiate. What I'm asking you is, according to the North Carolina Real Estate Commission, can you legally accept payment for representing yourself? What do you think the answer to that is?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's all.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Right, Natalie?
Travis, my question is like, without your real estate license, you won't have access to contracts. So to represent yourself, do you need a lawyer to draft up the
I
contract?
don't know. Maybe you're just smart.
That'd be a good idea, maybe.
Or maybe you're just dumb. That's up to you. See, again, Natalie, we're not here to teach you. What did Seth tell you earlier? We're not here to teach you how to do
How.
this. We're here to teach you what? I'm going to say it throughout the class.
Rules.
The law.
How to pass the
Speed
test in
limit,
the law.
baby. What's the
Pass test.
speed limit?
And Natalie, you have to also remember, we are literally talking about one specific law at this point.
That's right.
And you have jumped ahead to practicing, which is fine.
You jumped ahead to the practicality of it. Here's what I want to prove to you. Are these 2 different questions? I'm going to ask 2 questions. You tell me if they're the same thing or they're 2 different questions. What is the speed limit on Interstate 40? That's one question. how fast do you drive on Interstate 40? Are those the same question with the same
the
answer?
cruise
Or are those
control
two
on
different,
them.
or are they two different questions?
Two different questions.
Different question.
Two different
different.
questions with two different answers. Here's the thing. The answer to question number 1 is the same for everybody, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What
Correct.
is the speed limit on 40? Is that not the same answer for everybody?
Yes.
How fast you drive on 40 is your individual choice. Does that make
Yes.
sense for everybody?
Mm-hmm.
And look, Natalie, we are not picking on you. It's just
Not at
you,
all.
you spoke up. And Travis had these thoughts when he took his class. I'm sure I absolutely had these like rabbit holes in my past, but we have got to rein you in because I know that was such a blind spot for me. And
It is
oh,
because the
it
Real
hindered
Estate
me.
Commission on this license exam is not going to test you on the practicality of these rules. They're simply going to test you on the rules themselves. And so, would it be hard for somebody to accomplish that? Maybe.
Probably so.
But the question is it legal? Does that help, Natalie?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, good, good.
Thank you for asking.
I love the question. Love the question because it's exactly the kind of things we get curious about. Now, assuming you have decided that you want to do those 3 things, then remind me, what are those 3 things again that you want to do, that you want to obtain licensure? What are those 3 things? You
Real
want to
estate.
you want to
horizontal
deal with
construction,
land or
Work
real
the
estate.
land,
You want to
for other people and get
work
paid
for
for it.
other people, and you want to get what?
paid.
Paid.
Assuming you
Most
made the
important thing.
decision, you made the decision. Those are the 3 things you want to do, and I've made that decision. I want to deal in land. I want to help others, and I damn sure want to get paid for it. And because I want to do those 3 things, I need a what?
License.
I need a real estate license. Okay. So assuming you've come to the conclusion that you as well would like to deal with land, help others, and get paid for that, then you need to know the qualifications of a real estate broker in this state. A real estate broker in North Carolina must be a minimum of 18 years old. They actually don't need to be 18 years old to take and pass this class. They need to be 18 years old to take and pass the license exam. Could you take this class when you're 16 or 17 if you really wanted to?
Yes.
Y'all think? Yeah. Yeah. As long as you don't take the license exam until you're what?
18.
18.
Until you're 18. Until you're 18. You're not required to be a resident of the state of North Carolina. It doesn't matter where you live. You're not even required to be a resident of the United States of America to obtain a North Carolina real estate license. You are required to have legal status in the country. You are not allowed to obtain real estate licensure if you do not have some current legal status in the country. But people who are here on work visas, people who are here with permanent resident cards, certainly citizens. I mean, there are all sorts of people who qualify. You could have citizens of other countries, but who are allowed to work in the United States who have a North Carolina real estate license. Because there is no requirement that you be a resident of the state of North Carolina. The only requirement of being, as far as licensure goes, you got to be 18. You have to have some legal status to be in the United States. And you have to want to do those 3 things. Deal with land that's located in the state of North Carolina, help others in those transactions, and get paid for it. That's the people who are going to need to obtain a real estate license in North Carolina. And so I've kind of summarized that on this slide. If I'm working for myself, guess what? No
You
license.
Don't need a
No
license.
license.
Don't need it. It's okay. I'm not saying I can't work for myself if I had a license. Of course I can still work for myself. I'm just saying working for yourself, even in real estate, does not require licensure. Working for others in real estate, but doing it for free. What do you think? Licensure needed or no licensure needed?
No license.
needed.
No licensure needed. If you want to work for free, could you list your neighbor's house for sale tomorrow without a real estate license? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. If you were willing to work for what?
Free.
For free.
For free. I don't know why you would be, but if you were willing to, go for it. Go for it. The Real Estate Commission would say to you, we have no authority over you. What you do is what you do. But when you start working for others in those real estate transactions and you start charging for it, that's when they're going to step in and say, you need licensure. Now, the real question is, when you obtain licensure, are you going to obtain what we call broker licensure or firm licensure. I'll give you a hint. You all are breathing. If you're breathing, you need a broker's license. Because brokers are what?
People.
People.
Humans. Humans who wish to help other humans with real estate transactions in the state of North Carolina and get paid for it need a real estate broker's license. But here's the thing, folks, and I want you to understand this. Not all licenses are for humans. Are there real estate companies out there? Are there businesses that have been established as a company, meaning the company has actually been created as its own separate entity? It has its own social security number called a taxpayer identification number. It has its own banking and checking account. It has its own credit profile. It's completely different than a human. Are there such businesses out there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And they might be limited liability companies, they might be partnerships, they might be corporations, any non-human that wants to do those three things. What were the three things again that would require licensure?
Working for others.
Land,
Others,
And deal
compensation.
for others
pay
and get
for it.
what?
Paid.
Pay for
And
it.
get paid. A land deal for others and get paid. That does not require a broker's license, but it does still require a real estate license. That's called a real estate firm.
Firm.
That's called a real estate firm. A firm is a company. A broker is a what?
Person.
Is a person. So I want, because I think visually this might help a little bit. I'm gonna stop my share for just a second so you can see me full screen. I have here 2 checkbooks. Okay. 2 checkbooks. All right, can you see that? Not really focusing. Does that look like a broker or a firm to y'all?
Can't see
It
it.
looks like a blurry finger.
Like a personal person, probably.
A personal check.
Personal check, right? Is that a broker or is that a firm?
A broker.
Broker.
So if you're paying a commission to Travis Everett, are you paying it to somebody with a broker's license? You paying it to somebody with a firm license?
Broker's license.
Broker's license.
Broker's license. How about that checkbook right there?
Firm.
That's a firm.
Firm. That's
That's
a
a
nice
firm.
logo. I just want to say that.
That's a firm. Because
I
that's
designed that logo.
that's an LLC, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's a company. Does this also need a real estate license?
Yes.
Yes.
It absolutely does. If you're going to do what? Pay that company for real estate services in the state of North Carolina, that company also has to have a real estate license. So if you're looking at me personally, I only have 1 real estate license, but how many licenses have I actually applied for?
2.
2. I applied for one
Good
for
job.
myself
For the
and
firm.
another one for the company that I own. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, how you end up handling that, I'm going to put my shared screen back up now. How you end up handling that ultimately will be up to you. Some of you are simply going to remain a broker and only a broker. You're not going to create a company. You may go work for a company, but you yourself are not going to create one, maybe. We will call you not only a broker then, but we will call you something called a sole proprietor. Add that to your notes. A broker who is paid directly for their services, who is compensated directly, not through a company that they own, is a sole proprietor. But if the payment first goes to a company, then they're not paying. We're not paying a sole proprietor. We're not paying a broker. We're paying a what?
Firm.
A firm. Does everybody see the difference between the two?
Yes.
So here's the thing. if Trav Talks Real Estate is listing your home for sale, are you hiring Travis Everett, the broker, or are you hiring Trav Talks LLC, the firm?
The firm.
Firm.
You're hiring Trav Talks LLC, the firm, and and who is that client going to pay? Who are they going to write a check to?
The firm.
The firm.
And people say to me, well, what's the firm going to do with the money? Whatever it wants to. It's the firm's money at that point in time. Now, we all know the reality is who owns that company? Who owns the firm?
You.
I do. So I'm going to decide what to do with the money because I own the company. But you're not going to pay me directly because I've decided that's the way I want my business structured. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
For a point of comparison, Seth operates as a sole proprietor.
Not after today, actually.
Oh, are you in the process?
It's already, yeah.
Seth operates as a sole proprietor up to this point. What that means is that when he is paid a commission, what name is on the check?
His name.
His
His
name.
name. Because he doesn't own a company. He doesn't have a company. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't work for a company. As a matter of fact, guess what company he also works for?
Travis
Trav
Talks.
Talks.
Trav
Trav
Talks.
Talks.
So the client may pay Trav Talks, but then Trav Talks pays who?
Seth.
Seth
The
Thomas,
sole proprietor.
the sole proprietor. Could he create his own company and say, I don't want Trav Talks to pay me. I want Trav Talks to pay my company. Could he do that?
Yes.
Yes.
But if he did, what would he need?
A firm
His
license.
EIN or the firm
It's
license.
not-
A firm license for that company that he
I
just
heard
created.
somebody say an LLC, and while that may be true, however, somebody decides to register their business, you really need that firm license
That's
on
it.
top of that entity.
Once you've created the entity, you need a separate. Now I saw somebody's hand up and it went down, and I didn't see
Morgan.
Morgan, what's up? Do we?
You had said it already. I was about to say proprietor, but you said it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Gotcha.
Good deal. Good deal. So how do we know, Calvin? What, you got one as well?
Yeah, that's why I'm taking a course here now, because we're Nevada based, but we're operating in North Carolina. So it requires a North Carolina license. That's all I wanted to add.
Got you. So
Nice.
you're getting a North Carolina broker's license, and here's the thing: do you own a company that's in Nevada?
Yes,
And will you want your commissions paid directly to you, or will you want them paid to the company?
directly to the company.
Now, so here's a perfect example. Calvin, he's got to pass this class and pass the license exam to get a broker's license. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
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 He still won't be ready to do the business the way he wants to do the business because he just said he didn't want commissions paid to him. He wants them paid to what?
Company.
Firm.
Directly.
The company. So what does he also have to obtain for that company to do business in the state of North Carolina?
Firm license.
Firm license.
Firm license. So Calvin doesn't need one real estate license. Calvin needs to obtain what?
Two.
Two.
Two of them. He needs a
I have
broker's
a question
license
too.
for him personally, and then a firm license for his company. Go for it, Seth.
Yeah, I have a question. Calvin, is it Vegas or what are we working with here?
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, brother. I
Uh-oh.
accidentally muted you.
Oops. Muted you, Calvin.
Vegas because of the tax benefits,
Gotcha.
but I'm a native North Carolinian.
You're a
From
native
New
North.
York. Yeah. Mhm.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I'm gonna private message you in a second. I'm just
Natalie?
messing with you.
Travis, so I understand. So in Calvin's case, he wouldn't be able until he gets that for it to be written out to the company. But if you have a company, but you don't have your firm license, can you deposit it to your name and transfer it, or you can't do that if you have a company already?
No, you can't the money can never go to the company because the company is not what?
No
Licensed.
license.
It's
no
not
firm
Licensed.
licensed. It's not licensed. So that money can't ever go to a company that doesn't have a firm license. So for me to ever put money, no matter whether the money's paid to me and then I want to put it in Trav Talks LLC, or it's paid to Trav Talks LLC and paid to me, we both need licensure. Does that make sense? Because we're both eventually going, because here's the thing. I've had people say, well, then why do you need a broker's license? If you own a company that has a firm license, why do you need a broker's license? Because if I didn't have a broker's license, I would never be able to do what with the money that was in my own company?
Get it.
I didn't be able to get it. I'd never be able to spend it. I'd never be able to touch it. I'd never be able to put it in my own personal checking account because I didn't have a what?
firm license.
Broker
Firm
license.
license.
Broker license,
license.
right?
God
It would have
knows I wanna
sit
touch the
forevermore
money.
in front, and it ain't gonna happen. No, I need to be able to spend it.
I know, that's right.
Yeah,
Right.
the reason I asked was because I opened a LLC, so yeah, now I see it, and you wouldn't need the firm license too.
Got to have both if you're going to have it set up that way. Now, there's no requirement to have it set up that way. We have, tens of thousands of licensees who operate as sole proprietors, which just simply means that when it comes time for them to be compensated, the compensation comes directly to them as a person rather than to a company that they own. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Jessica?
Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but if you're wanting to do a firm license, is that also a test, or is that just simply paying a fee saying, hey, I'm doing?
You are getting ahead of yourself, and we'll talk about it. But no, what test would there be? It's not a human. How's a company going to take a test?
Okay, so it's just a fee.
It's just a fee. That's exactly right. It's paperwork.
Keep it on the rule. We'll get there, I
But
promise.
we'll get to the rule about who can start a firm. Not what do you think the first rule is going to be about who can start a firm? Somebody who already has a what?
License.
Broker
License.
Broker's
Broker
license.
They're not going to let somebody open a real estate firm unless that person already has a what?
Broker's
License.
license.
Real estate
And
broker.
real quick,
license.
before we get any other questions, these are the kinds of things that we get into, and it makes your mind go, okay, well, how would I want to structure my business when I get out there? We ain't here to talk about that right yet.
Yep.
So-
Just the rules. Taylor,
Just
you
keep
had
it in the rule.
Taylor, you had a question?
Yes, so I just wanted to make sure that I have it understood correctly. So brokers paid directly is the sole proprietor, and the broker paid through the company equals what now?
The company is a firm. If a company is being paid a commission, that company must have a separate real estate license called a firm license. Okay. Is it Shinar? Is that right?
Yes, Shanar.
Shinar.
I want to just fill in a little bit because I'm taking this class as a part of education to educate myself and help my husband. My husband is Kyle Adam Johnson, actually, who took your class last year and passed it from the first time. And he actually recommended me take your class directly. So right now, he is almost a year and a half as a broker, and we are actually planning opening up this real estate firm, which we're under this process. But he can't be a broker in charge as to
That's a whole different, and we're not going there right now. That's a whole, being in charge is different than having a firm.
Any questions you have like that, we can answer outside, but we got to keep it on the one rule.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm just wanted to tell that it is the process that you have to have a both, that's just wanted to share my experience, what I'm going through. And it's requires time and the patience, and you have to follow all these rules.
You have to know the rules, because
Exactly.
some firms are not required to have a broker in charge. It sounds like
Exactly.
your firm is, but some firms are not. So we'll talk about that as we get down. And that's just literally the person who's going to be in charge of the office from the standpoint of the real estate commission. A firm, folks, is nothing in the world other than a company that's going to be paid commissions. Could a firm be only one broker? Could a firm consist of one broker?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. If that one broker has chosen to be paid as a company, then they're a firm. Could a firm consist of 100 brokers?
Yes.
Yes. As long as commission is being paid to a company, it's a firm. Same question. Could a sole proprietorship be just one broker?
Yes.
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 Could a sole proprietorship be 100 brokers?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. If they all work for, rather than working for the company, they work for one single what?
Broker.
Person. If you have,
So if that was Travis, who did not have Trav Talks LLC, and all his instructors and agents worked, all three of us worked for him, the person.
this was the Travis Everette Real Estate School, and I didn't bother to set up an LLC, I would still be doing business as a sole proprietorship, because your registrations would not go to Trav Talks LLC. They would come directly to who?
To Travis.
company.
Travis Everette.
Or
then
Travis
I would
Everette.
and then Travis Everette would pay the other people that worked for Travis Everette. That's still a
Right.
sole proprietorship, even though it's a
In
big
that
group
scenario.
of people.
But
Because
right
I
now
don't-
it's structured as an LLC. So I don't work for Travis. I work for Trav Talks LLC.
Exactly.
Travis
So-
just manages it.
I don't want you to start to associate, if they're by themselves, they're a sole proprietor. You don't know. Oh, if there's 20 of them, it's a firm. You don't know. You have to figure out who's getting paid. If it's a broker being paid directly, they're a sole proprietor. Even if there's 20 people working there. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
So maybe let's use them as an example. If you guys were getting paid directly, what would you be?
Broker.
proprietor.
Broker, sole proprietor.
If you put a company in front of your name,
Why are we?
sorry, we have an echo.
Yeah.
If you put a company in front of your name, what would you be?
The firm.
The firm's getting paid. That's all it is.
That's exactly right. And now we don't just mean you made up the name of a company and stuck it on the side of your car. We mean you actually went, created one, went to the IRS, got an employer identification number, went to the Secretary of State's office, created a company. It has a separate checking account. It has a separate social security number, so to speak. It's completely separate from you, the person. Once you've created that company to be paid needs a firm license. Are we all good on that distinction? So when we use those words, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That's going to be an important one. Good. Very good. So let's just kind of go through it a question. Based on this picture, just looking at the picture, are we looking at, I don't know. I think
Janet, I'm sorry, it's yours. I'm
it's
going to private
Janet.
message
I
you.
think it's Janet who's echoing. Just based on this picture, am I looking at a sole proprietor or am I looking at a firm? What do y'all think?
You don't know.
You don't know.
I love
Too
y'all
smart.
already. Day one, and I already love ya. I don't know, because he could be doing business as either one, could he not?
Yes.
Yes.
Right? If he's being paid directly, he's a what?
Sole proprietor.
Sole proprietor.
Sole proprietor. But if he's created a company and he's being paid as a company first, then he's a what?
A firm.
Then he's a firm. You see how that works?
Mhm.
Yes.
See, we try to get you this foundation right away from day one where you understand, so you don't get because if you start to learn things and you hear the word firm and you're automatically associating that with the Remax office down the street, you're going to be lost when it comes to a lot of these concepts.
I mean, you have to think about it before you came in here today. If you were to look at somebody like this in an actual given scenario, you would probably be like, oh, that's just a broker.
Right.
If you knew what a broker was.
We don't know. We know he has a broker's license because he's a human, but we don't know if he's operating as a sole proprietor, broker sole proprietor, or as a firm. Does that make sense?
We need to see your paycheck, sir.
That's right. I need to see your paycheck. That will tell us everything. How about this group of people? Are they operating as a sole proprietorship or are they operating as a firm?
Still
We don't know.
don't know.
Still do not know.
Mhm.
Because we haven't seen how they're being paid. We haven't seen whether or not they've created a company. Here's the thing. Could this be Kim Jones, sole proprietor?
100%
Yes.
could be. I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
And could she have all these people working for her and they work directly for Kim Jones?
Yes.
Yes.
And it's
A
still
lot
a
of
what?
liability.
It's still a what?
Sole
Sole proprietor.
Still a sole proprietorship because all the clients are hiring Kim Jones. All the clients are paying Kim Jones. And then who pays all the other people that work at the office?
Kim Jones.
Kim Jones.
Jones. That's
So on all
still-
agreements, like Travis just said, the clients are hiring on those agreements that they make with that team or whatever they are. It's Kim Jones that's being put on it.
That's right. Or could this just as well be Kim Jones LLC? Could she have created a company?
Yes.
Yes.
And in that case, it would be a what?
A firm.
It would be a firm. Same
So in any
office.
agency agreements, the client would be putting on there Kim Jones LLC or company or whatever.
That's exactly right. Same office, same people. We don't know whether it's a sole proprietorship or a firm without seeing their paperwork. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
So let me throw this question out there for you then. The Remax office down the street that has 72 people working there, sole proprietorship or firm?
So possible.
Sole proprietorship.
Oh, y'all
don't know.
just
Don't know.
failed.
We don't
The
know.
answer is
Don't
always
know.
the same, folks. We don't what?
Don't know.
We don't know.
We don't
Don't
know.
know.
And that's a big misconception we've got to
could be
get over.
either one. Could it be Tom Jones, who owns that Remax office and owns it as a sole proprietor with no business entity established? Is that possible?
Yes.
Yes.
And he pays all those people directly. That's possible.
Yes.
And if it was, he would be a sole proprietorship.
That's a big misconception. Brands are not automatically a firm.
It's all about the business structure.
Right. Keller Williams, Remax, Caldwell
So
Banker.
you're
those
just
are
paying for the
brands.
name? Is that what you're saying?
That's right. That's just a name. That doesn't
It's a
really
brand.
tell us anything about the business structure. Sole proprietorship versus firm tells us about business structure. That's just branding. That's just
It's
name.
the same thing as if it was like a McDonald's. You use that example a
Well,
lot,
here's
Travis.
the thing. How many of you have pulled up to, you don't really see it at McDonald's because they don't often put it in the window at McDonald's, even though it's true at McDonald's, but you see it especially at like Bojangles. How many of you have ever been to the drive-through window at a Bojangles? Don't lie.
Oh,
you know you
yes.
have.
Every day.
Yes.
You know you've been to Bojangles. When you go to the drive-through window, there's always a sticker in the window that says proudly owned and operated by. Does it say Bojangles Inc. there, or does it say some people you've never heard of in your life? What do y'all?
People we don't know.
People we don't know.
People you don't know. Because it's not owned by Bojangles. That's just a brand that they have paid to use because it drives people there. Janet, I don't know why you're echoing so badly, but yeah, it's definitely.
Okay, sorry.
you.
I was trying to see if it was fixed. I'll fix it on break. Sorry.
Yeah.
I got you. We'll work with you on it.
Yeah, we'll work with you
But
on that.
yeah, I like that example because it's like, even though we think of, Bojangles or McDonald's or whatever it is the same company. I mean, yes, the brand is the same company, but each individual place is not the same.
Each individual place is owned by somebody, and it could be owned by a company, in which case it would be a firm.
That's how you have to look at it, like that franchise, the
Or
brand.
it could be
right,
owned by
Angie?
a person, in which case it's a sole proprietorship. How many of you feel like you kind of getting that now? The idea that it's all about the business structure, whether we call them a sole proprietorship or a firm.
And how do we find out what kind of person or firm it is?
Your paycheck.
There
How
you
you're
go.
paid.
How you're
Very
paid.
good.
How you paid. When I pay Seth, it says Seth Thomas on the check. So he's a what?
Sole proprietor.
Proprietor.
By comparison, Leslie Helton, who's also a broker in our firm, when I pay her, I write the check to NatWin LLC. She's a what?
Company.
She's a firm.
Firm.
And by the way, is that firm working for my firm? Is that a firm working for a firm?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So think about it. Travis and Leslie never touched that money. The clients pay Trav Talks LLC. Trav Talks LLC pays NatWin LLC. Firm to firm. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
When Seth has a client, though, the clients pay Trav Talks LLC, and Trav Talks LLC pays
Seth.
Seth Thomas. So that's client to sole proprietor. Firm to sole proprietor. Are you picking up on that?
Yes.
It's all about the payment. Okay. So Kylie said, so you can only be one or the other or not both. Correct. It's all about your business structure. It's all about your business structure. Are you choosing to be paid through a company, in which case you're operating as a firm because you've created a company, or are you choosing to be compensated directly, in which case you're operating as a sole proprietor? And that's going to be a business decision. And we're not going to talk about the positives and negatives of that business decision. We're just here to learn the law, the differentiation,
rule, yes.
what license the real estate commission would tell you need. Here's
We
the
would
good
love
news.
to talk about it, but even 90 hours doesn't give us enough time to talk about it.
Here's the good news, right? You already have a sole proprietor's license when you get a broker's license.
Bam.
Because you're already licensed to be paid directly as soon as you, the person, have a broker's license. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
It's only if you wish to be paid through a company that you have another step to do after you get your
Right.
broker's license. Then what's Calvin going to have to do? Go get a what?
Broker stuff.
Firm license.
Get a
Firm
firm
license.
license. Now, could Calvin start to represent clients in North Carolina on day one as soon as he passes the test and has a broker's license?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But he would have to be paid directly. He could
As a sole
not
proprietor.
have that commission paid to his company because his company does not yet have a what?
Broker
Firm license.
Firm license. So
Got
talk
the
to me.
brokers.
Just an important differentiation. Are we feeling it? All right. How are you feeling there? We do it good?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Good.
And I think
Good.
some of the most important things that you can probably take from that of what we just covered is that the requirements for licensure too, and Travis, there's other important things, but the requirements are the same for a person or a firm. If you're doing real estate for others for compensation, those apply to both person or firm.
Yep. That's exactly right. Exactly right.
So
Good.
you would not know if you look at the listing whether it's a form or not.
You would if you look at, when you say look at the listing, do you mean look at the property, or do you mean look at the actual agreement between the client and the
No, look at the property listing. It's like this one here, say Century 21, but it's listed by Todd. So
Okay, so you don't
if you
know
read
because
that,
you
don't
haven't
know.
seen how they're being paid. You haven't seen how they're being compensated.
That's right.
You don't know if that's
You have to see the paycheck.
You don't know if that's listed by a firm. You're still, Janet, still echoing. You don't know if that's listed by a firm or if that's listed by a sole
Person.
proprietor.
Mhm.
Janet, there's a button up there that says original audio. Try turning that off. See if that
Good
see if
one.
that helps. Sometimes that might help.
Top left corner.
Now, the people we help, the consumers, the public. As we go through the class, we have to learn to differentiate, are those people what we call clients or what we call customers? Now, we're going to get to that. We're not going to talk about that right now. That's not the distinction I want to make. But people in these transactions always have legal names. And basically, you take anything that we do for somebody, any service that we do, and you can tell whether we're helping one side or the other based on whether we put OR on the end of that word or EE on the end of that word. So if you think about like our services, making an offer on a property, is that a real estate service that you think brokers are going to have to do? Offering on a property?
Yes.
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 So the question is, are we dealing with the one making the offer, or are we dealing with the one receiving the offer? And all we're going to do is take the ing off of whatever we're doing. So if we are offering, take off the ing, and the two people are going to be called the offer or and the offer what?
E.
We're going to use that to label people in every single real estate transaction. And the OR person, the one whose name ends in OR, is always the one giving up something. So who's the one making the offer? Would that be the offer or would that be the offeree? What do y'all think?
Offer
Or.
The offer or. The EE person is always the one receiving that thing. So the offer E would be the one receiving the offer. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Watch how helpful that is. Buyer legally would most likely be referred to by which title if the buyer's making an offer to purchase some seller's home. We would not call them the buyer legally. We would call them the what?
Offeror.
The offer or.
And he said most likely.
Most likely. And the
Most
seller
likely.
would be referred to as the what?
Offeree.
The
Offeree.
offeree, because they're receiving the offer. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Here's
But
the,
have you ever thought about it in a way where a seller makes an offer to a buyer?
yeah, I mean, it could go the other way, and then we would switch the titles, you know?
Seller would be the offeror, buyer would be the offeree.
Right. It's always about who's giving and who's receiving. Let me tell you why that's so helpful. Because you can basically take any word in real estate and you can tell immediately who you're talking about without having to memorize 50 different titles.
Yeah, they
Because
think
every
we're dumb.
transaction has different titles. Leases. You have the landlord, you have the tenant. I ain't got time to remember all that. Give me an OR and an EE word. If I'm leasing, watch this. Leasing. Take off what?
The ing.
The ing. And I know this is a misspelling, but it works. And put what? OR or
EE.
EE. The one who is giving the lease would be who?
Leaseor.
The leaseor. And the one who's receiving the lease would be the
leasing.
leasee. So a tenant, is a tenant giving a lease or are they receiving a lease? Which one is it?
Receiving.
Receiving.
So the tenant's the what?
Receiving.
The lessee.
So does this take you a little bit to kind of like think about like what's going on here?
And
You can't
the
just
landlord
automatically.
is the landlord's the what?
Lessor.
And folks, you can do this over and over and over. So like when we're transferring ownership, we are granting ownership. What are we gonna do? Take the what off?
ing.
Take the ing off, and now we have a grantor and a grant what?
Grantee.
Which one's giving up ownership?
Grantor.
Grantor. Which one's receiving ownership?
Grantee.
Tell me you can't do that. Tell me you can't do that now. See,
And Travis, I really like the way that you do go through it, saying who's giving and who's receiving, because it's not as simple as saying, "Oh, well, the OR is just always going to be the buyer." That's not the
right.
case.
That's not true. It's who's giving up the thing in question. What are you doing? Who's giving it up and who's receiving it? Somebody's always giving it up and somebody's always receiving it. And the one giving it up is always going to get OR on the end. The one receiving it's always going to get what? E on the end. An option. You don't even know what an option is. But if somebody's giving somebody an option to purchase land, they are the what?
The OR.
The option-or.
Option-or.
And if you're receiving an option to purchase land, you're the what?
Optionee.
Optionee. Folks, can you do that?
Yes.
Right?
All day.
Every action in real estate, you can take the ing off and put OREE and it tells you who's doing what. Think about it. If I'm selling real estate, the one giving up the property is the what?
The seller.
The seller. The one receiving the property, even though you hardly ever hear this word, is the what? The sellee.
I don't like that.
But it works. Danielle?
It does.
So in this instance, I always get like, when I was taking the quiz, I was getting confused, like the selling agent. So in that instance, do we always take off the ing
We're gonna talk about that particular terminology a little bit later. We're coming to it. Calvin, you had yours up as well. Did I answer your question? All right.
Yes, you did. This is excellent because you definitely will see this again on the exam.
Yes, indeed. You'll see these words over and over and over so repetitively in our business and on the test. And so just understanding the basic sort of building blocks of how they come up with these things, you know, like the word trust. If I'm giving someone my trust, if I'm the one that's being placed in a position of trust, or if I'm giving up, I'm saying, okay, I trust you. I'm the trust what?
Trustor.
The person I trust is the trustee. See, it always works. The one giving it up is the OR person. The one receiving it is the EE person. You're going to be expected to be able to deal with that throughout the class. And that's why I wanted to pull this out separately, so you don't feel like you're really being expected to learn 100 different vocabulary words. All you're ever doing is really just taking the root word and sticking OR or EE on the end of it, and you'll be able to quickly identify. Okay, so that is it for our little introduction and sort of foundational vocabulary there. Let's do this, and this is earlier than we probably normally would do it, but it's a good spot for today. Let's go ahead and take our lunch break. Okay.